Tim's adventure at the first Video Marketing World. What's coming up next on Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. And from wherever you are in the world, even if it is not Saturday, welcome. And thanks for joining us. We got a special, well, it's always a special show, but the special focus of the show today is on the adventures of Tim, who just this week attended the Video Marketing World, and a conference that involved several hundred people and several really outstanding presenters. So we're going to be basically turning Tim loose to tell you all about his exploits. And first of all, Tim, how are you doing today?
Not too bad. I'm still feeling the excitement and the pumped up and adrenaline from the conference even. Some of the stuff that I've learned during that, and not just at the conference, but through the interaction and networking outside the conference, that it's really got me excited of where things are going, where we can take things, and ways that I can improve helping others.
You know, that's got to be really exciting to see, to get a glimpse of the future and to see what's coming down the pipes, and what's also what the mainstay is of what people are going to say, no, we're sticking to the basics here. Here's where we're going to innovate, and here's where we're going to maintain what we're doing. So part of what will be interesting is to see what changes you see coming down the pipe. But before we get into the actual content of what you picked up on, how was the experience? I mean, what did you do? I mean, I know it wasn't a party, but you had to have some smiles and laughs.
It was great. There was a lot of interaction. I met some really cool people. I was able to interact with the sponsors of the event and touch base with them as to why they felt it was important to sponsor the event, as well as what them as sponsors, even though they were there as sponsors, some key things that they learned that they had wished they knew before the conference.
Oh, I bet.
Because I specifically sought that information out from them, the ones I did get to interview.
So in general, how many people did you talk to or interview?
I was able to do 3 live streams. I talked to, probably the best I could do was probably 20 or 30, simply because there was so much to talk about with so many different ones. Just like I ran across Chris Straub. He actually live broadcasted 50 live broadcasts on Snapchat chat from 50 different states.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I know I had more. There was another Chris, and I'm really beating myself up because I really wanted to retain his last name, and I repeated it several times. It was a really great young man that was also, he's new to video and new to marketing, and being able to talk with him and get his insights. He's really pumped on how the brain works and how video ties in with how the brain works and how we can use our training our mind effectively to benefit our video productions and others, so that the information that we do put out as video content has a purpose that helps others with the information we're presenting, not just sell them a product.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. And before we go on, I want to acknowledge Barbara Quick is out there, WeWake, and Roz Boundy is out there. So thank you very much for joining us in the conversation. And I really appreciate you showing up. And if you have any questions for Tim regarding what we're discussing here, fire away in the chats, and I'll try to. I mean, I'm not as fluent a wrangler as Tim, but I'll try to catch as much as I can and still keep the conversation going here. So let's see. That's all that's out there right now, but we'll be welcoming them more as they come in. And so anyway, Tim, your overall impression of the conference?
Overload. Information overload. It was for no more speakers and only that one day event. Even with the breaks they took and the lunch break, there was no way you were going to absorb it all and put it into practice right now. It's even with your notes, you still are going to have to chew on this a while, and you're going to find yourself catching notes as you go along, where this comes to mind back from attending this conference. And it was really nice because Jeremy put this on. Jeremy Vest is the owner of VidPow, and he was the producer, I guess, for lack of a better description, of the Video Marketing World 2017 event. And he had some co-sponsors that were there, and I got a chance to talk to with as well. But the main goal was to test the interest and put this information out there to help people and to just see if they could do it this year.
Right.
And what kind of reaction they would get. Do people want more? And he said he could have sold at least 100 more tickets, and it wasn't about the money. It was just a case of he didn't have the room in the venue because, they have those fire occupancy limits. And
right.
He was at max. He was at max. I think the building was 450, and he was not allowed anymore. Whether that was the actual auditorium capacity or the whole building capacity, I couldn't tell you. But I can say that the event was a phenomenal success for VidPow and SMU and the Dallas chapter of the American Marketing Association, in that the auditorium was full. I didn't see any empty chairs.
So one of the things that occurs to me is that they actually delivered to you a lot more than we're going to be able to cover today, because you have the speakers events all day long and doing that on Wednesday, and then they're going to come back to you with some content that you're able to take away from it that you can review and research, and you'll be learning upon learning by reviewing back and going over the stuff again, because there's too much to digest in one day, right?
Oh yes, most definitely.
So as you do the research, can we count on you to come back and highlight the points that make the most sense that the people need to hear? And
I'll be glad to.
We'll dedicate another show to highlighting the stuff that really stands out.
Come on, may bring that we have later on in the show, may bring on situations where we have an opportunity to tie that information in with what's presented as well.
Sounds good. And WeWake has a comment out there.
Yep. He's asking that Yeah, I saw that in the chat there myself.
Video marketing conference where people had to meet in real life to discuss video conferences. That shows the importance of meeting in real life, Tim Longwell. And it really does.
It is. It's very powerful, that integration of community and the energy that is there in person that gets transferred to everyone there, that can only go so far, even with video conferencing, where we can just see one another's face and mind and thoughts. Vivek is, we were talking about one of the key things that he's looking for, the 3 main points. All the way through this, the one thing that kept popping up is we have to understand our goals, because we have to respect the platform, respect the people, and understand the people of our audience. And we have to have a purpose in doing it, whether we're creating recorded videos or live streaming. Have a reason there. Be of a benefit. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and their time, and you're not really being fair to either one of you.
You know, Tim, I'm so happy and feel vindicated that they focus so much on that, because so much of the people out there worried about statistics and this and that and how many likes and blah, blah, blah and views. And they're worried about all that stuff, and they don't really worry about the content coming out. One of the things, Steve Martin came out and gave out his master class, and one of the things he said in his advertisement was, everyone was coming up to him and said, how do I get my headshot? How do I get this done? And so all these things, statistics and the surrounding peripherals. And he thought to himself, why aren't people asking me, how do I just be good as an actor? And it was like back down to the roots. He's like, quit worrying about your headshot, be a better actor. And which basically focuses us on the same thing, be a better producer of content. Would you agree?
And that's it. And that was one of the a key takeaway is, you know, we hear the word authenticity is literally worn out, and it comes down to more than just authentic. It's a case of be yourself, be who you are, because today's audience in video can see right through that persona you put on for the camera.
Right. Well, I think I put on a persona for the camera. I wouldn't say that I don't. I'm comfortable with what I put on.
Well, there's a difference between a presence on camera and the persona. The person you project yourself to be is the persona.
Sounds
the
good.
Presence is how you deliver and what people know to expect and things like that. And the key is to make that persona and that presence to be you, not what you think they want.
Maybe the dividing line is when you produce something, if you feel good about it after you're done, you probably were more present and more authentic than something that you would have created on paper or designed before you went on camera. So the authenticity of it all is, are you real off camera the same way you are on camera, or have you changed significantly? Because the one thing I'll say is I'm bound to be a little different on camera than I am in real life. I'm bound to be, but I don't feel like I have to, like, oh yeah, I got to get ready and, you know, put on this mask of a veil before I hit the start button.
Exactly. And that's the key point, is you don't need or want to do that. Yes, Vivek, point one is be clear about the why, the purpose. Because without that, all the rest of it's spinning your wheels and wasting your time. So just like Simon Sinek says, just like I emphasize and Roland emphasizes, and you yourself, we would emphasize, that why is, it's important, whether you're recording video or presenting live video.
Yeah, for your information, you probably drilled that into my head better than anybody. It's always been there. I mean, it's always been what I do in my processing and developing clients and so forth. I wouldn't accept anybody if, I always told my clients, I'm as critical about who I accept as a client as you should be about hiring me, because it's got to be a partnership when you get it together. And that's reaching down to the why. Why are you doing it? Am I going to want to back you with a project, or am I going to be just hiring out my services to glance over the peripherals and then watch you go away and never communicate with you again? The why connects the people and creates partnerships. And we all have to team up to promote something to the end. So I give you credit for bringing that out vividly for me, Vivek. So thank you. And okay, so let's get down to the 1, 2, 3s about your takeaways from the event itself. Now, you got there on Thursday, but the program started Wednesday morning, right?
Right.
And you went through like 6 sessions.
Right.
So if you were to analyze that, let's pick a couple of them and tell us what your takeaway was from the people that deliver the messages.
Shaun McKnight started off the conference with the how brands interact with video creators, influencers, some things for both brands and influencers / video creators to look for, understand how that process worked, and which might laid out whether each step might be right for what they want to accomplish as a brand, whether they're doing their own video creation or whether they wanted to hire a, quote, influencer. Jeremy Vest brought out a very important point, that too many people are concentrated, just like the followers and the likes on Facebook, and the followers and the pluses on Google Plus, and the followers on Twitter and everything. There's no return on investment there, no ROI. The fact is, views is also the same deal. It's a vanity metric. There's no ROI. When you're doing video, whether you're recording it or doing it live, because when you record live, if you did it right, it's recorded and hosted somewhere for views for replay later. So when you do a live, you want to always have the replay in mind. And Jeremy and Owen both made that point very clear, that have the replay in mind when you're doing your live stream, because one way or another it's going to be repurposed, whether it's just watching the actual live stream or whether you divide that up into sections to hammer home certain points.
So is what you're talking about right now segmenting, like taking the overall video and segmenting it into individual pieces as
right.
individual messages?
Right, that you could use for either the platform you did your live stream from, or you could literally use those segments as a repurposed content.
Like if you want to do a
formatted
podcast
for the proper platform, because that's one of the things that you got to remember when you're doing video, whether you're doing recordings or you're doing live streams or posting segments, is you've got to respect the platform.
Absolutely.
The audience is different at each platform, so you got to understand your people on each of those platforms. And it used to be the thinking, and with regular text, it was kind of a given that you found your platform and you stuck it out and you stayed there. But with video, your market is more diverse. Yes, there will be a key platform that the majority of your demographics are on, or your target demographic may be on. But the reality is, if you need to get to the 20 to 30-year-olds on Snapchat and even though your demographics are showing good on YouTube and or Facebook, If you're not doing Snapchat or Instagram, where these age brackets demographics are, you're not hitting them. You're not getting your message out there. But if you do it wrong on those platforms, they're going to ignore you the same as if you weren't there.
Right. So
you want to be there, but you want to respect that platform while you're there.
I wanted to catch up with the conversation. Roz Betts was making a statement and contributing to this regarding the live event. Energy like that is the difference of the IRL to joining in only online. Being present gives vibrancy to the experience. So I would say that that's definitely true. And but what surprises me is how close video comes to IRL, how close video comes to in real life. I have some friends that I had only met online, and we were probably closer than many of my other friends that I am in real life, associated with. And so the connectivity and the continuity that that we are capable of with video is really a connected device that we have never experienced before this decade. And so that's why it's like the wave is right now, live videos right now, and we keep talking about it. We in these shows keep talking about it. It's getting to be like old news, old hat. Please shut up about it. But this conversation is going to carry on for the next 5 years. And the wave is now, this is the push, and the mainstream group is going to be coming in. So this is such a huge subject. I'm really glad you went on this excursion, Tim. So what else? The information that you're giving us is really good. What's another point from the takeaway of the presentation at the conference?
You're not making a commercial when you're making videos or doing live streams. There are certain aspects and that were pointed out that I can't remember the gentleman's name. It escapes me and it didn't get into my notes. The pioneer of infomercials, if you will, figured out, he understood people. He understood the groups of people very clearly and how they responded, what they responded to and everything, and what flow you needed in his old infomercials to keep your interest and lead you to the point where you made a decision that you were comfortable with. And you got to remember, you're not making a commercial, but at the same time, there is a flow that you need. And I can picture the slide that was put on the screen so clearly. Unfortunately, the photos that I have from the event, that slide isn't one of the photos I got. So I can't refer back to that.
All right.
But as soon as I get the information forwarded to me from the conference, so that I can review the material and get that format, I'll make sure I share that with everyone. But that's the things it still comes down to one of the key things that this gentleman did for his infomercials is because back then the clip on the slide showing the guy was black and white. So we're probably talking early television infomercials. But he understood his demographics and his people well enough and his audience well enough that he literally would chain these infomercials about the same product. But let's say that this infomercial was 15 minutes long. Each time that 15 minutes ran, he was speaking to a different audience. He wasn't in there shotgunning and hoping to get his audience with one video. He was recognizing the fact that he needed to drill in and get the attention of this particular person that he was trying to reach with his product. And that's something that we as video creators, whether we're providing information, teaching how-tos, or whether we're actually marketing, we need to understand is that we have to develop our content and understand our audience clear enough that when we drill in, that we are speaking to them.
So let me
And
understand
they
this.
feel like we're speaking to them.
So let me understand this, Tim. Let's say we've got 1,000 listeners. What he's saying is that when you start speaking from any one perspective on your delivery, that's going to catch maybe 5% of the people. And then if you come back again to the same group of 1,000 people and you deliver differently, you're going to hit 5%, but it's going to be a different 5% because those people will be responding to the different delivery and the focus of what you're doing, not just what the product or the service is, but your delivery connects with different people in the same demographic.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
it's not about reaching out here and then going away and then reaching out over there. It's like broadcast to the bunch, but know that you're talking to a different group of people or cross section in the group itself.
Exactly.
That's really critical. I would have missed that if I hadn't asked you.
I had a chance to talk with some of the sponsors. As I mentioned, Jeremy Vest of VidPal was the main organizer of the Video Marketing World 2017. His goals were to show it could be done, see if they could do it, and find out what kind of interest there was. And he was, like I said, he was overwhelmed by the response. And we're really excited about having this Video Marketing World 2018. By this time, I'm sure that Jeremy's already having to figure out and start preliminary planning at least, so they've got some time to build up for next year. I do know that I was mailed a survey, and I'm sure all the other attendees were as well, of the different points asking about the event and everything. Some things we'd like to see included next year, potential speakers we'd like to hear from, or subjects addressed. And then if we didn't have a specific speaker, Dennis Yu was there talking about, let me get back to these sponsors and then we'll go on with that.
Let me cut in for just a second because Aaron Avila is out there at the Stroke TV, man. And I really appreciate you showing up, Aaron. Glad to have you. He makes this comment, which I wanted to address. Our key is broadcast in the moment, in the present moment. And that's very important, yes. But I wanted to emphasize that it's not just broadcasting in the moment. We have to go back to what we originally were talking about and discuss the why you were there. And just to broadcast in the moment doesn't send a message. I know a lot of broadcasters out there that are key to the frequency aspect. So every day they get on and they do a 5-minute or 10-minute segment, but they're not saying anything. It's okay to be present, but make sure that you're delivering a message. If you're only going to talk for 2 minutes, what is the message? Otherwise, if there's no takeaway and no value behind your message, regardless of how long you are, then you wasted your time and mine. So if you're gonna put 5 minutes of broadcast, make sure it's for a reason. Explain that we're testing this, or I wanted to say that, or I learned something new. Deliver a message, deliver the value, then be present. So anyway, did I give you a chance to breathe there for a second, Tim?
Sure.
And want to go back over to you, and what's the next thing that we can say?
As I was saying, I got a chance to interview these sponsors and one of the speakers. I got to interview 2 of the sponsors and one of the speakers in a live stream from the broadcast. And I was the only one live streaming there. I think most of the people showing up for this conference, I don't think they realize the power in live stream yet. Because some of them were confused about what I was doing. They, what is this guy setting up over here? The conference is in there. And so the others were going, oh, wow, you're talking to people from here on the internet right now. Yeah. So the ease of live stream isn't, and the ways they can use it, it wasn't really covered at this particular video conference. And it's something, as those that are doing video marketing for brands, or their brands looking to do their own video content, or these are things that it's a subject we can add to the program next year to help them see how easy it is and how effective it can be if done directly with understanding our goals and performing what we call a run of show, so that these particular points are covered even in that short live broadcast regarding our product, our process, or a quick updating our customers or fans what we're doing today.
It really seems to me that they worked on. There was not a lot of fluff at this conference. The people are talking about some really deep concepts and delivered value to you and to us. So it sounds like the conference is going to be a success. They're going to have another one next year. It's going to be even better. Do you see it? Do you see it changing at all? Did you get the notion that they were already redirecting the ship as at the end of the day? Was there a new? Go ahead.
As far as redirecting, as far as changing directions of the conference, no. Expanding on the conference, maybe building a bigger ship would be a better description, so that there was room for those interested in the cruise. Using your ship as a simile.
Right.
Like I said,
that's valid. Yeah.
As I was starting to mention before, in interviewing the sponsors, we had the Dallas chapter of the American Marketing Association, and we had Southwestern Methodist University career and something education. It's continuing and progressive education or something like that, but it stands for professionals that are already in a field or whatever, and they want to expand their education in particular topics.
Right.
In fact, Jeremy is an instructor as well as a business owner. He's also an instructor at that university in regards to video and video marketing.
Wow. That's going to be a big subject. I mean, if they're actually planning courses around this in advertising.
Well, they're having problems because there's no room in his classes. He's filling up that many semesters ahead of time already.
That is a good problem to have.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But one of the things I wanted to make sure of, because as sponsors, they needed to understand the validity, because this year they stuck their out on a limb and seeing whether or not it would hold them. So one of the things I did to help them see how what they were actually supporting, and to help others see it too, was I asked them the question, what did you learn in the program to this point of the interview that you wished you had known yesterday before they attended the event? What key point can they use that they wish they'd been able to use before?
Was there an answer to that question?
There was an answer for each of the 3 interviews that I was able to do live. Tom Bennett he's with a marketing firm, and I have an image here that would have it. I'd have to scroll through, and our flow of our time and everything's not going to. So, but his main point was understanding that he wished he'd understood the need for the run of show, the outline of what to say, when to say, how to include your audience, and so on, so that you had these bullet points in order, so that your recording or your live went step by step by step smoothly without bumps and dead spots, and whether it's wasting production time on filming a video or dead air time.
So you're actually talking about consolidate your delivery of your message so it fits the time slot and is effective during the hour that you're up there, or whatever.
Or 15 minutes or whatever. No matter what your time slot is, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, have an effective outline that says that we're going to do this at this time, we're going to do this at this time, we're going to do this at this time, this is going to happen then. And it's not what is going to happen, it's just what time it's going to happen.
Oh my God.
And that way, that run of show fits, whether it's a 5-minute format or however long a format.
So you're talking about administrative and organizational stuff that was somewhat lacking for the presentation.
Well, no, it was a case of he didn't realize the importance of having that to prepare video marketing for, because he works for a marketing firm. And one of the things that a lot of marketing firms hadn't understood yet was the importance of having this outline of how the show is going to progress. Not the material in the show, but the consistent, repeatable steps that occur just like clockwork every time they do a recording or a broadcast.
Yeah, this is a really, really valuable stuff, and not just repetition, not just doing it on every day or repeatedly, but when you plot it out, when you have it, how you prepare, and the planning that goes into the show before you actually go live. And I know we get together and kind of play sometimes on Saturdays where there's very little preparation, but usually during the course of a week, to set it up and to prepare so that all the pieces work together, the various resources and things interacting, and embedded the video in 3 places, and working it with the website and so forth to live stream with our platform. This takes me 3 or 4 hours a week. And that's not counting the subject matter. So yes, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. I wanted to catch up on one comment from Roz Boundy, and I'll share it with you. This is referring to the nature of the video as we were developing the concept. She's saying, it's one of those things that I prefer to not plan the videos I do, which at the moment are ad hoc, and when I can just spend a bit of time sharing flute playing mainly with those online. I suppose I enjoy the chatting with a friend style. And which brings up a very important point. The likability or the attraction of that chatting with a friend style is authenticity. That's being really you. And that's when you feel comfortable, it's when you're enjoying yourself. And there's a value there. So that's that feeling of the sharing and the enjoyment is what you should be expanding with. And one of the things you should be expanding with. So
and I'm going to go ahead and I noticed Roz has got another question that you probably haven't had a chance to grab yet. She's wanting to know what the main emphasis was of the conference overall. Was it more live streaming or recorded video? And it also ties into her comment about she's more comfortable ad hoc. The emphasis was on doing video the right way for the most benefit for you and your audience. Now, the casual way she likes to do her flute playing and everything, she's still got a certain way that she's fallen into that feels good. It works for her audience, and it works for her and she's comfortable with, but she still built unconsciously a run of show because she opens it a certain way. She does a certain thing at a certain flow in a certain time. Now, those of us that have been doing video for a certain time, we learned this and adapted and adjusted ourselves as we learned what our audiences liked, and we reacted to them if we were responsive enough and aware of our audience. So the emphasis of the conference wasn't about the run of show or how to structure a show so much as it was the importance of what you're doing and why you're doing it for the show. It didn't focus on live streaming. It didn't focus on video recording. It focused on the fact that you're doing video and marketing, and audience is a very relevant key part that has to be considered, whether it's a casual presentation, which Roz does because she likes chatting with them and they like chatting with her and everything. That's reacting to her audience. And this was one of the points that they were bringing out, is that engagement with your audience is critical, whether live or recorded, because without that engagement, it doesn't matter what their message is. It doesn't matter what their why is without that engagement. Because if they can't make that engagement connection, it's just space, time, gone.
Yeah, and she was commenting about, I'm at least going to read this. Well, I'm going to post it because it's important. I think that you're really touching on something that's very important, Tim. And the conversation with you and Roz is really, really going for it. And in order to display this succinctly, I'm going to do it without fanfare, even though it's taken me a while.
Well, while you're bringing that up, she's asking a little bit of a schedule then. And so you're developing your own style. Exactly. So that bit of a schedule might, in your case, you already got that routine down. So that is your schedule. So where a schedule for you might be more handy is if you're intermittent, getting consistent so that your audience knows what days Roz is going to be there for us to interact with and listen to her play. And do that, make sure that we bottle that, just like rolling every Saturday morning. This is where we are. The audience for Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties knows 11 o'clock Pacific, Saturday morning, this is where they can find us. But as far as a schedule otherwise, yeah, from the way you're describing your show, Roz, you've already got that. Because otherwise your audience wouldn't be responding.
So I had myself white boxed, but I'm going to go ahead and put this up here because it might be something that we want to follow up with. And Aaron asks, are there repeatable steps to a show? What are they? And I have something to say, but what do you think, Tim?
Yes, there's repeatable parts of the show in that there's your intro, there's your greetings, there's your segment for acknowledging your live guests, there's the segment for acknowledging your guest on your show if you have one, there's the segment for talking about your sponsor if you have one. So yeah, those are there, Aaron. But those are going to differ depending on what you're doing. Yours won't be the same as mine. They won't be the same as Roland's. They won't be the same as Roz's, and they won't be the same as Weewick's.
So if I could follow up, Aaron, think of it from the standpoint of not just steps, not just procedures that you have to go through. They are expressions of your personality. And that's what's going to attract people to watch the show. Oh, yeah, Aaron always does this one thing, and I could look forward to that. Bam, you give it to them. If they're looking forward to it, you give it to them. I always do a little intro, and then I do a slideshow, and then I introduce everyone in the green room, and then we proceed on from there. There are steps there. Are they the best? Not necessarily. Are they 100% efficient? I don't know. But it's the steps that I encounter and use, and the people get used to that, and they'll watch. And if they're comfortable with that, they're going to come back next week. But if you're all over the board and the people can't feel the repetition, feel the things to depend upon, then the show has less continuity than it would if you had it regulated. But from there, all of those things, all the steps are just a pilot to conduct you through a flight. You're actually the personality. You are actually the reason the people are there. Whatever you deliver in the scheme of the framework, that's the most important thing. But the framework is important because people get used to the rhythm of what's going on. Did you have anything to add to that, Tim?
Yeah, and it made a great point about him being the pilot. The analogy there is so fitting because even a pilot that's using autopilot in these big jet airliners, there are specific radio towers that direct them along their route from the start of the trip to the end of the trip. That helps them orient where they are in their progress on that trip. Our video, whether it's a recording or a live broadcast, is still a trip. And this outline, if you will, that I'm talking about, aren't hard bullet points that you necessarily discuss. But yes, I used the wrong term, bullet points, Aaron. Realistically, these are guideposts for your shows. These are the radio towers that tell you where you are in your trip from start to conclusion of your video, whether it's live or whether it is recorded. You've got this set path that you follow to accomplish what you want for that show. And if it's in a consistent enough pattern in tune with your audience, it's easier for them to get comfortable with it. They know what to expect. There's no off-the-wall confusion because and if you deviate from that plan, it catches their attention. Okay, why did this change? What's he doing? What's up? So you can use that to your advantage because you stepped off the norm of your particular run of show. And it allows you to use that as a gotcha moment to grab their attention again.
Really, really good instruction, Tim. I'm going to have to re-listen to that myself because I think you outlined basically how I feel about being the pilot of this show when I'm doing my thing. And I depend upon the landmarks and the signposts as a guide, but then everything else is free form and we just run with it. So Roz has a statement that she had I wanted to ask you a question. So here we got. Tim, does that mean the engagement for either live or recorded is a connection with people in the chat here or making comments under a posted recording?
It's both. That engagement is both. One of the points one of the speakers made was the mistake that people were making by not responding to their comments and the failure and the letdown. And Gary Vee just reemphasized the same point in the video. For those that don't know, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. If you look up Gary Vee on YouTube, he just released his keynote address for the Vid Summit conference, which is a big 2-day. This year they had over 800 people attend. Video marketing conference and event for collaboration between brands and creators and the such and the like. And they, at this video marketing world and in Gary's keynote, is that you have to connect with your audience. The number one failure of most creators on YouTube and other video platforms is failure to acknowledge their audience by replying to the comments.
Yay, team. I've been telling people, jumping on my pedestal to make this mark, that the definition of engagement is when you're conversing the two ways. You respond to a comment, they respond to you, you acknowledge them, back and forth. That's engagement. And engagement is not how well you can smile and broadcast that to the world. That's not engagement. So people misunderstand what the concept of engagement is. Engagement is when it becomes a two-way street, you develop a relationship. And that's why we're all here. So Roz, when you were talking about the interaction stuff, responding to the chats is a very important thing. I go back after the shows are over, and even though I couldn't do it during the show, if I'm conducting the pilot position, I go back and read all the comments, and I'll plus them. I'll answer to them. I'll respond. I'll put extended comments in with plus naming to the people, because this is my opportunity to respond to the people who's paid some attention and visited my show. This is my opportunity. And sometimes the opportunity builds into more of a relationship. I win. If the relationship grows, I win, because that's my sphere of influence. You have no sphere of influence if the people won't talk to you. And that's what the engagement is all about. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, and I'm glad that you responded with what you did, Tim. So before we wrap up the show, the hour's gone.
I did warn you.
Yeah, well, we knew that, didn't we? It's too much information. But the takeaway for me that you were delivering to us is that the focus should be on the concept of what we're delivering conceptually, why we are in the business in the first place, why we want to express on video. And if we focus on that, that's ultimately the starting point. So if you guys don't have purpose in why you're on video, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. But my concept is, I think everybody could discover their why. Everyone, and no one's why is too small. And you say, oh, well, I don't have this much going on, and I'm not interesting and stuff. It doesn't matter. You have a why. I don't care who you are. You have a why. And if you want to express it on video, I say go ahead and do it. So back to you, Tim, because this is your show. I would like to know, is there anything above and beyond what we've summarized here? What do you think that your takeaway message to tag all of this is? And then I have one further question about things.
Okay, real quick before I do, a little added point to Roz's question about engagement. So when she mentions the comments under a posted recording, in case she's mentioning about those at the bottom of like on YouTube as an example, you want that same conversation we just had here in the show with the comment section flowing by, and during this, you want that same flow in your comments below your recorded video on whatever platform is hosting it, whether that be Twitch, whether that be YouTube, whether that's Facebook or whatever. That conversation, that interaction, just like we had live here by reading the comments as they came by and answering and discussing them here, do the same thing under the recorded videos.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. And I think there's so much power in always respond to the people who comment. Always respond. So as a wrap-up concept, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Tim. So with your takeaway, what you've learned, and just the feeling of what you've moved on with into this new realm that we're in, how can we improve the Smarties show? Because whatever the case, whatever I'm trying to do, I do want to improve my show always. So what are your couple of clues that you could add to me?
Right off the top of my head, I can't actually think of anything, because you're doing
maybe that's a good sign.
It really is. It really is.
Oh, good.
There were a couple of things that I know that were brought out in the material that you will appreciate, that when I get that information to me in the after event notes, that I'll pass on, but it's the flow and everything that we've got. We're in the right direction. We can always be improving. That's just the nature of who we are and what we're doing. Maybe we need to adapt to technology or whatever going forward, but that's going to depend on what becomes available and how we use it. And I know you're looking into doing that already. So about the only other thing I could think of that maybe you might want to look into that we didn't get a chance to cover today is tracking everything in your analytics and covering your analytics and tracking how effective your video production is. That's a whole nother 3 or 4 shows.
Yeah, another thing about tracking is I think you have to have an audience and statistics to track. And I haven't really been pushing for a bunch of people to watch the show because I don't think the show is really that worth watching until I get it set the way I want it to. So I've been focusing on the way the show is designed. And I think
I'm going to blow a hole in that for you then. Roberto Blake actually said it best. For someone with no knowledge at all, if you've had 6 months of learning, you're a god. Getting it just right will never happen. That's a perfectionist goal.
Well,
done is good enough.
Let's put it this way. I'm on the threshold of expression, and I'm doing the show. I've been here for 3 years, but with the VCP events plugin developing and a couple of these platforms and maybe the development of Lightstream, I think that we've got the things we need, and I'm really ready to push the show. But I haven't really been pushing the show up until now. So we're right on the threshold of that. And I wanted to flash this on the screen just so that it's marked for posterity. WeWake had a list of things that he included. I think I got them all, and we won't go over them all. We're not going to talk about it because the show is over. But he had 5 points that he added, so we're going to post them there for you to see, and we'll definitely attend to them and respond, and we'll talk about it more. So thank you, WeWake. And anyway,
those are excellent points. I got to scan them real quick.
And
that's something we all want to aim for. Very good, Vivek. Thanks, WeWake, for those excellent points.
And I just, the show's over, and we, pull out the hour, but we have to wrap it up at some point. So I just thought I would show everybody wow. There it is. Okay. I wanted to get my music ready, but wow, technology.
That's the great thing about live, is those gotcha moments, the happy little accidents, as Bob Ross called them when he was doing paintings.
I really enjoyed this, Tim, and thank you very much for your reporting on the conference. And I think that there's going to be more of those. We're going to send you to all of them, and we want you to report back and tell us what your takeaway on all these new things that's going on. But
anyway, I'm already looking forward to Vid Summit next year and Video Marketing World next year. Hey, I'm not bashful. If you want to donate to those trips for next year, let me know. I'll find a way.
Yeah, you know that I'll be backing you as best I can. So I want to thank Roz and Barbara Quick and WeWake. And let's see, Aaron's out there. I really appreciate all your comments and so forth. And it was a very good presentation. So I'm going to have to watch the replay myself and see where it guides my brain to go from here. And thank you very much for saying that we're on the right track. So anyway, gonna say goodbye for the day. Thank you very much, Tim, and thank you, the audience members, for your participation. Have a great weekend. Saying so long from Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties.